It's the International Soccer Preview. We are Soccerphiles Canada. Welcome to Series 31, looking at the players of the 2025 African Cup. This episode is looking at the players of Angola. Part 2, the selections. Here we go! Hello and welcome to the International Soccer Preview by Soccerphiles Canada. I'm Kevin and this is a continuation of Series 31 on the players of the 2025 African Cup. This episode is part 2 of our coverage of Angola's players. And we move on to section 3, where we welcome listeners to the short version of the mediacast. We're beginning with our spotlight review. That kind of really summarizes everything we've done in part 1 and 2 of the mediacast, but specifically section 2 of part 2 here. Of this mediacast, and what it is a kind of a race through the squad, looking at the players that were selected and the predictions we have in terms of starters. So let's go back to manager Patrice Baumel. He's pretty new, came in at the end of September there, and so he guided them through their October and November games, and he made some changes. Just the very fact that there's a new manager make us a bit tentative in our predictions for the final squad there. Anyway, Patrice Baumel, we consider a successful selection for the squad, and we move on to goalkeepers. Here we had 2 definite candidates in Neblu and in Antonio Signori or Antonio Dominique, both of those selected for the squad. The first of our possible candidates, Hugo Marquez, was selected. The second one, Agostinho Kalunga, initially not selected, but was called back in when an attacking player was injured, and he came in as a 4th goalkeeper there. In terms of starters, we use 1 star to indicate we think Neblu is a possible candidate, and 1 star for Hugo Marquez there. We think both of those are possible starters, but we're not confident enough to put 2 stars, meaning that they're likely, or 3 stars for definite there. Let's go to defenders, and we have central defenders. Only 3 of them, surprisingly. The 2 definite candidates, Kielonda Gaspar and David Carmo, both of those selected for the final squad. So is our likely candidate, Jonathan Buatu. But we had 3 possible candidates. Only the first of them made it even to the preliminary squad. That was Bastos. And then our 2 other possible candidates, Alexander Abel and Ruben Adarito, not selected for the preliminary squad even. We're not going to talk about players below that level unless they made the final squad here. So if you are looking at the YouTube, you can at least see the names written there, but we won't cover that. We covered it in section 2. Here. In terms of starters for central defence, we give each of them 2 stars, meaning likely. We think it's going to be a rotation among them, or perhaps even all 3 of them starting in a 3-man central defence. We are a bit worried about backup players for this position since they only bought 3, but we're going to see they brought 3 left backs and 3 right backs, and we think those will probably act as backup players if the main candidates are injured. Let's go to left back, and we see we have 2 likely candidates. The first one, To Camara, and the second one, Pedro Bondo, and both of those were selected for the squad, as was our first possible candidate, Nurio Fortuna. However, the second possible candidate, Sandro Cruz, didn't even make the preliminary squad there. So those are the three left backs. In terms of starters, we give 2 stars or a likely level to Tocanera and 1 star possibly Nurio Fortuna. Over to the right side, it looks pretty much the same in terms of candidates who made the squad. Our 2 likely candidates did get selected for the squad, Eddie Afonso and Clinton Mata. And then our first possible candidate, Rui Modesto, selected for the final squad. But here too, our second possible candidate, Jordi Gaspar, not even making the preliminary squad there. For starters, well, the manager took us a bit by surprise here by starting our possible candidate, Rui Modesto, in both of the November games. So we now consider him a likely starter. Moving on upfield to the defensive and central end of the midfield, we begin with players coded as defensive midfielders. No definite candidate here either, but a likely candidate in show. And then our possible candidate, Kielano Manuel, also selected for the final squad. We won't talk about starters until we take a look at the central midfielders here, and we have quite a few of them. 2 definite candidates in Freddy Columbe and Maestro, and both of those were selected for the squad. We have a likely candidate, Benny Mukendi, who was selected for the final squad, but the other likely candidate, Antonio Hossi, was not selected for the final squad, just for the preliminary squad there. And 2 of our 3 possible candidates were selected for the final squad. The ones selected were Ari Papel and Mario Balberdia. However, in the middle, Meg, Megue, only selected for the preliminary squad there. In terms of starters now for defence and central midfield, we feel that the manager favours Maestro most among the players here, so we give him 2 stars as a likely starter, and then the other one's 1 star, that is Show, Freddie, and Benny. All 3 of those possible starters in the central midfield. Up we go to the attacking end of the field, and we begin on the left side there. We have a definite candidate in Felicio Milson, and then he was selected for the squad. Likely candidate Gelson Dalla, also selected, and the first of our possible candidates, Chico Banza, selected for the final squad. Gelson Dalla and Chico Banza are coded as forwards, actually. We moved them here, but there is a chance they could start somewhere else on the field. In fact, that's what we think, especially for Gelson Dalla. In terms of starters, then, we have Felicio Milson as a likely starter and Chico Banza as a possible starter. We'll talk about Gelson Dalla later because we do think he's going to get on the field, but we'll look at some other positions he's played in before we officially make that prediction. Let's go to right attackers here. We had 2 likely candidates, Zito Luvumbo and Benson Manuel, and both of those made the final cut. However, possible candidate Gilberto just making the preliminary squad there. In terms of predictions, we give a likely starter to Luvumbo and possible starter to Benson Manuel. Central attacking midfield, they don't actually use the position that much, but since it was used in the first November game and it was filled by Gelson Dalla, we're going to talk about him here. In part one, though, the only candidate on our list here was Randy Nteka. He was at the likely level and he was selected for the final squad. Gelson Dalla, we officially put him as a left attacking midfielder, but we're putting him here just to show that we think he's a likely candidate. Again, not necessarily in this position because they don't use it much, but somewhere on the field we think Gelson Dalla is likely to start. All right, we move on to the last category, forwards. No definite candidates here, but a likely candidate, Mabululu, was selected for the final squad. But the other likely candidate, Depu, not selected, just making the preliminary squad there. We had two possible candidates. The first one, Zini, actually was selected for the final squad, but it looks like his injury he had to be taken off the squad because of his injury, and we saw that a fourth goalkeeper was added in his place. That leaves us with just one possible candidate to talk about then. That is Mbala Zola, and he was selected for the final squad. In terms of starters over here, we are not very sure, but we have given possible status to Mabululu and to Balazola, the manager having used him in both of those November games. Okay, that is it for our Spotlight review. We would like to thank Pixabay and Cold Fingers for the wonderful music used in this mediacast. The title of the piece is Eid Mubarak.